To round up a big story from the week now, Washington still reeling from the sudden resignation announcement Friday by House Speaker John Boehner. The congressman says he will step down toward the end of next month. Boehner resigns at a time when Congress could once again be scrambling to avert a looming government shutdown and several unprecedented government defaults. All eyes now shift to Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy of California, who some believe is the strongest possible replacement. So will Boehner's resignation hurt or help Congress? That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page, along with Twitter. Use the hashtag Fox26 for life. Joining us live in the newsroom is our panel, led by our senior legal analyst, Chris Tritico, our news analyst, Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst, Jackie Bally. Did this come as a surprise to you guys?
You know, he's been fighting with his own party from the day he was elected Speaker, and I think he just got tired of it. The handwriting was on the wall that if he didn't support the government shutdown that the Freedom Caucus was pushing, that they were going to vote him out. And so I'm surprised that he did it, but I'm not surprised that he did it, because I think he's just tired. I think he's tired of the fighting that he's had with his own party. He wanted to push an agenda opposing President Obama, and every time he tried to do something, he had a fight with his own party and with Ted Cruz. And so I think that's what happened to him, and I think he didn't want to continue the fight, and he didn't want to hurt the institution of the House of Representatives. I think that's why he did it. I think Kevin McCarthy is the odds-on favorite right now, but we'll see where that goes. Jackie Bally, were you surprised that he resigned?
No, I'm not surprised. He's been ineffective for a while. And to answer Sally's question specifically, I definitely don't think that his resignation will hurt the party. He hasn't really done much in his role, and so the fact that he has resigned, this gives new leadership, someone new, an opportunity to actually push our conservative principles and represent Republicans the way we want them to be represented. You have young, vibrant leaders like Rubio and like Cruz who are shaping the Republican Party, and they are becoming the faces of the Republican Party. It's just time to move on. Thank you for your service, but it's time for him to go.
I find it funny and I'm not making fun of Jackie, but I find it funny that you have conservatives saying he was ineffective when every time he said, this is what I want to do, his own party said, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, I think Jackie said he was ineffective because he couldn't build consensus within the caucus. There's 25 or so members in the House that are not necessarily connected to reality. They want things to happen that the system doesn't allow it to happen. It's almost like if you had a company that was making widgets and your senior management and management team thought widgets the worst thing in the world, then you wouldn't have a good company. You wouldn't be able to run it. And in the case of here, he's got members that are against government. They don't believe in government. So how do you put people in charge to govern when they think government is the problem?
Let me ask you both this. You've got the Freedom Caucus, which is, I'm going to call the Tea Party group. Not pejorative, but that's just that group. You've got the moderate Republicans, and you've got the Democrats, who have a pretty big block. If the Tea Party caucus and the moderate Republicans can't agree on a speaker, can the Democrats control who the next speaker is?
Well, in the House, it is difficult, because I think that Republicans have 247 members.
If they stay together.
Well, if they stay together, but more than likely the challenge with the Freedom Caucus is that they've never had a real leadership either in the House. They've not had someone that they can rally around. So in a vacuum, Kevin McCarthy is probably the only guy that can bridge everyone, because although they're against the government, they're against the system and against the institutions, they also don't have a solution and they don't have leadership.
So what about that?
I can use Texas as an example. We have several Tea Party leaders in our legislature. We also have moderates, and we also have Democrats. And for some reason, it is working in Texas. You see our governor, he's been very effective in getting those three groups together. We've elected Speaker Strauss for I don't know how many different sessions. So there is, if you are a good leader, an effective leader, a good communicator, you can get different factions together. We've seen that in our own state. Boehner was unable to do that because he was not effective. He was not a good communicator and not a good leader.
I got to go to Sally, and I want to come back to you when we come back. Let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Okay, let's take to Twitter now and pull up a couple tweets here. This first person says, if you are a Republican and you think Boehner leaving will help the GOP, I would suggest you are very wrong. And then Alex says, good choice, Speaker Boehner. You will move on to better things Time for a strong, solid conservative. What are the conservative ideals that that Speaker Boehner was missing, do you think?
Well, it's not that John Boehner was missing conservative ideals. It's that John Boehner didn't have the same values as the Tea Party caucus has. And because he didn't believe in shutting the government down over issues like Planned Parenthood, he had a fight with his own party the entire time. I want you to respond to that, but you had a point you wanted to make before we went to Sally.
Well, first, I would say that, you know, when Speaker Strauss got elected, I wrote this for the Houston Chronicle, that the United States Congress can take lessons from Texas. But unfortunately, structurally, it doesn't work that way in the House. In the House of Representatives, your caucus has to vote you a speaker. The other side doesn't vote you in. It is Republicans and Democrats. That's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. And what Sally's saying, you know, it is the tone that he's taken. He is reasonable and pragmatic, and conservatism today is being angry. And that just is not John Boehner's style, and he's not able to say the rhetoric in a way that people find it compelling.
Was it that he felt that I've got to move government along, and that's what caused him the problem with the Tea Party?
Well, he was not pragmatic. I disagree with what his statements are. And I guess what we're really seeing, and we've discussed this before, with your new, younger leadership is different styles. People say that Tea Party, and I'm assuming you're referring to the Ted Cruzes of the world, don't believe in government, or don't believe.
Well, he said that. I didn't.
Someone said it. Don't believe in government, and that's not correct. But what you do see is a different approach to style, and the younger generation that we are now voting in, and as opposed to the older people like the Boehners of the world. Not that there's anything wrong with older people, but the older style, the older style of legislating is not what we're seeing our voters, our constituents do not want that anymore. And we are moving, we are changing. We've seen that with our primary. We've seen that with our Republican primary, who the three main contenders are. They are people who are outside of the mainstream and outside of outsiders.
Let me ask you this. I'm sorry to interrupt. We're almost out of time.
No
Let me ask you this. We are, if the House goes the way we think it's going to go, and it's my way or the highway, we're going to shut the government down. We're not going to fund Planned Parenthood. That's not going to pass in the Senate. And there's not a 2/3 majority in either house to override the president's veto. Are they just willing to shut the government down at that point and leave it that way?
I think if we have an effective speaker, which is what we're hoping, then they will come to a compromise, especially with Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is now currently the main policy point that we're looking at. So we will come to a compromise and definitely reduce the amount of funding in Planned Parenthood, because we are talking about very potential illegal activities of an organization, but yet we're still giving them quite a bit of money.
And isn't that really part of the problem? What Jackie just said, that Planned Parenthood is the main policy focus of the GOP. Isn't that a problem?
Well, right now, yeah, and you're impending in October 2nd.
I didn't say the main focus of the GOP. I said of this current shutdown discussion that we're talking about.
Well, fine. Thank you.
So you're running into the shutdown on October 2nd. You know, Kevin McCarthy, I think that Boehner decided to resign at the end of October because he wants to not shut down the government.
And now it won't be shut down.
And take the heat for it and then leave. But Kevin McCarthy's going to have the same problem. It is very difficult to please the people. That there's 25 House members. Majority of them don't want to be there, but they're all afraid of getting primaried out. And so the tone that's been set up there is a place where no one can really succeed.